Welcome back to another episode of Grim Captivation. And spooky woo. First of all, thank you guys. A huge thank you to everybody who's subscribed. And I mean, like, the last episode's over like 500 views. So I'm like, that's like incredible. And so like I've been blown away with all the support, and it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So thank you guys for doing that, because it just makes me want to write more of these episodes and record more of the episodes, and so it's been fun. I've been having fun.
Yeah. Thank you.
And there's plenty more that I plan to do for the show. So like after we go, now that we're done with, exorcisms and possessions, even though they're kind of shorter episodes, like this one will be a little shorter because this is kind of like a brief analysis of angels, actually. I don't go like into a deep dive of angels, of course, just kind of like what they're about. But little things like that makes more sense for the things that I have planned further on, I guess. But keep that kind of vague so that people keep coming back. So, but yeah, so today is going to be an analysis of angels. And the next couple episodes after that will be about demons. So, nice. Get the whole classic duo of angels and demons. But yeah, so as always, I'll be reading from a script, pretty much stuff that I've researched, and I just kind of wrote it in a nice little narrative, so it's easy to kind of follow along. Mm-hmm. So if you're in the crowd of paranormal believers, you might also extend that kind of belief in realizing that there are internal conflicts and wars between angelic and demonic entities and spirits. It's kind of like the whole spiritual warfare of pretty much, evil versus good. Many people seem to accept the fact that, demons or demonic entities are like well known. A lot of people say, oh, the demons in my head say this, or the demons in my head say that. Things like that. Also, I think it's due to, the many movies and books about possessions and exorcisms, the darker side of things. However, it also kind of seems like the belief in angels is kind of like diminished in a way. Like there's like guardian angels and things like that. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of like diminished from the belief in demons, I feel like. Of course, there are other, like a lot of people who might, disagree with that, of course. Countless people believe in, guardian angels, like I said, and archangels, things like that. And there are a lot of great attributes to these archangels and how they essentially protect humankind. But there is also a hierarchy of heaven, supposedly. Distinctive types of angels that have specific duties as they serve under God. And so this brief study is to go into the different types of angels, what they kind of do, and what they're known for. So if you guys do believe in guardian angels and archangels, and I know you guys can't really see it, but off to this side here we actually have a statue of Saint Michael, who is actually the first on the list here. But a lot of people, I feel like a lot of people believe in the archangels as they're pretty much like close servants of God and protectors of humankind. And so when people kind of call upon, angelic forces, say like during exorcisms, things like that, they're trying to, pray and, send as much help as they can, and who other better to do it than, archangels who are literally there for us. So yeah, first I'm going to be listing off 12 archangels that have specific significance and meanings. The archangels, in short, are appointed by God for the protection of humankind. And I'll actually be posting a really cool YouTube video that basically lays out what I'll be telling you right now. They kind of go into like the generic stuff of what the archangels are all about. So, the first divine figure is the Archangel Michael, the mighty protector. His name means who is like God, and he embodies his unwavering dedication to righteousness and justice with his sword and shield. Some images depict him with a demon underneath his feet, representing his defense against dark forces, protecting us in our times of spiritual warfare. So he is like the big archangel that a lot of people know. He is my favorite archangel because it is true. A lot of people have, demons in their heads. Like the whole phrase, I feel like, is very much true, where spiritual warfare is heavily influenced in our lives, and Saint Michael is there pretty much to defend our mental stability, almost in a way, against demons. Second is the Archangel Gabriel, the divine messenger, and whose name means God is my strength. He is the messenger of God and is known for his deliverance of important messages, for example, like announcing the birth of Jesus to the Virgin Mary, as revealing, pretty much just like telling her that he will be coming, soon, and to name him Jesus, things like that. All the way up to revealing visions to the prophet Daniel in the Old Testament. Gabriel is seen to have a golden trumpet announcing his messages and can also give pretty much like inspiration to us. And so a lot of the things with Gabriel is that he gives us comfort through words and messages. So I kind of like that as well, where it's like if you're having trouble trying to get through, a day or a week and kind of go throughout the messages of, like the Bible or something like that, I feel like that sort of spark of inspiration is kind of given to us from Gabriel. The third is the Archangel Raphael, the divine healer, whose name means God heals. He has the power of pretty much healing and restoration, both with physical and emotional situations. Pretty much for him, he brings like comfort and relief during times of like serious illnesses or with mental troubles. So with that stuff, it's more of just like when you're having like a really, really tough time. So like, like for like modern versions, that's more like if you're like in a surgery, or if you're even down to like if you're, in bed with a serious migraine or something like that, you could always like, call upon a Raphael, just to, have a divine figure kind of look over you during your time of illnesses. So that's pretty cool. Fourth is the Archangel Uriel. I think it's Uriel with a U at the beginning, so it's Uriel. The illuminator of wisdom, and whose name means God is my light. He gives people insights when they are discovering their spiritual and internal growth of the mind. He gives people insight into decision making as well, reminding us to make wise choices. So his whole thing is actually really cool and unique. That pretty much, I feel like with this, it's kind of focused into like believers of angels and things like that. And he gives them the fortitude and the strength to like continue on the path of righteousness and to realize, to follow the path of light is hard, but it's also, once you make really good decisions, better things come later on in life, and so on and so forth. Fifth is the Archangel Metatron. At first, when I read this, I mistaked it for Megatron. So I'm like, whoa, Archangel Megatron, but isn't Megatron a Decepticon? But no, it's Metatron. I never heard of Metatron before. Yeah, because I was researching this. I'm like, Metatron, and I actually researched it. I guess it's a thing. There's an Archangel Metatron, who is the divine record keeper, whose name means one who guards. So he actually oversees the information of our records and deeds during our lives. Because of this, he is known to guide people towards accountability and remind them of their actions, and with that, the impact and effects of decision making. So he's the one who pretty much, sees what we do, whether wrong or right. So, six is Chamuel. So not Samuel, but Chamuel, or Chamuel, however you pronounce it. The angel of unconditional love, whose name means he who seeks God. He practically embodies the essence of unconditional love and compassion, and he guides people during their building of relationships, from loving one another to healing emotional wounds. So this can come, obviously between, a couple, a pair, if you want to like call out to, Chamuel and, say like, hey, like, if it's good or if it's bad, just for him, you can call it him, and he'll like work on pretty much that whole binding, I guess, of like mutual connectiveness. So that's pretty cool. I like that. Seventh is the archangel Jophiel, the angel of beauty and illumination, whose name means beauty of God. She gives us appreciation in our lives and encourages us to be creative as well. Through this positive lens of the world, she encourages people to appreciate the nature and environment around us. And for me, that's a huge thing because I love my nature, obviously. Because I have my other stuff on the channel, which is traversing through Terra, and that's literally all it is like appreciation of nature. So, with that being said, like if we, say like if you do believe in, Jophiel, that means there's a part of Jophiel that is always sparking inside of me, I guess. That's like, hey, you want to go out to nature again and appreciate it? Because it is true. Creation is basically what God gave us to look over, protect, but also kind of appreciate all the little things. I think, you get like the animals, you get the insects, you get the plants, you get the rivers, it's like all that stuff, and it's incredible. So, eighth is the archangel Zadkiel, the angel of mercy, whose name means righteousness of God. He helps with mercy and forgiveness, not only with forgiving others, but with ourselves. He also helps in clearing the feelings of guilt and resentment, resulting in a more clear and relieved state. So I really do like Zadkiel, where it's like, yeah, the whole thing of like forgiving others, but forgiving yourself and like looking inward on yourself is also a very difficult thing for people to do. And I think Zadkiel's very focused in on that, like that inward, like really deep diving into yourself and realizing who you are, things like that. So I like that one too. Ninth is the archangel Haniel, the angel of joy and harmony, whose name means glory of God. She represents the joy and harmony in our lives and reminds us to find happiness and contentment in all the aspects of our lives. She has a profound sense of peace and balance that can be sent to people's lives during trying times. So that's actually, it's like a really good kind of explanation of what she's all about, is just finding all the good things in life. So, yeah, I know. Off camera, I'm a very pessimistic person. I look on the downside of life.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. So that's, I might probably need her help.
Yeah, I'm the total opposite.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, for you, Haniel is like full, probably. Like, she's always with you. So.
Oh, yeah, she is.
10th is the archangel Raguel. I'm going to pronounce it like that. The angel of justice, whose name means friend of God. He represents the just and fairness of our lives, resolving conflicts and problems in our hearts. Choosing from what is right and listening to others may stem from this divine justice. So, yeah, that one's pretty much kind of stems along to the whole thing of decision making, of good, and pretty much like what's good and what's bad. I feel like he's kind of there just to remind us what is the good path to take. 11th is the archangel Ariel, or Ariel. It's Ariel, Ariel. I want to say Ariel. The lioness of God. She overlooks and protects the natural world and its environments. She encourages people to look after the world and appreciate its beauty and importance. So, apart from the other one, I forget the name already.
Oh, I got it.
From earlier, the one with...
Jophiel.
Yeah, there you go. The one who pretty much reminds us to appreciate nature. Ariel's more of like the protector of nature. And I usually pair this... it reminded me of Mother Nature. Like, there's a lot of beliefs of Mother Nature. I don't believe in Mother Nature. But this Archangel Ariel sounds very much, like, similar to that. Protecting over the world, pretty much. So, and finally, the 12th Archangel is Azrael, the Angel of Transition, whose name means whom God helps. He helps with the comfort of our hearts during difficult transitions. He provides solace and peace during times of grief and loss to remind us that there is still goodness and joy around us. So his whole thing is pretty much in times of, sorrow. So, like maybe like loss of a loved one, or maybe somebody's like in a coma, or they're in a surgery, like anything that's like bad, pretty much. You can reach out to him and he'll give you that comfort kind of like the reminder again that there is so much good in this world. And it's worth fighting for. Okay, I had to do that. It's from Lord of the Rings. But yeah, so those are the 12 archangels. And yeah, so it's, interesting. So there are many examples of angels recorded in the Bible, but a few of them are like really bizarre. There's also, let me see if I can actually do this here, because there's a Bible verse here. It's in Ezekiel, and if I can find this here really quick, because with angels in the Bible, they're crazy imagery, I should say.
Yeah.
And I'm actually gonna look it up right now. Okay, so the verses, I guess, that I'll be reading, and I do read from the King James version, the old-fashioned one. This one comes from Ezekiel book, chapter 1, and then starts at verse 4, and this is the Ezekiel has this vision of this wild angel and their hierarchy of heaven, basically. And I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud and a fire enfolding itself, and a brightness was about it, and out of the midst thereof as the color of amber, out of the midst of the fire. Also out of the midst thereof came the likeness of 4 living creatures, and this was their appearance. They had the likeness of a man, and every one had 4 faces, and every one had 4 wings. And their feet were straight, and the sole of their feet was like the sole of a calf's foot, and they sparkled like the color of burnished brass. And they had the hands of a man under their wings on their 4 sides, and they 4 had their faces and their wings. Their wings were joined one to another. They turned not when they went, for they went everyone straight forward. So it's just weird. So they literally just like stand still and then just go,
Yeah.
and then they like move. It's like, okay. As for the likeness of their faces, the 4 had the face of a man, a lion, an ox, and an eagle.
Oh, okay.
Thus were their faces, and their wings were stretched upward. 2 wings of every one were joined one to another, and 2 covered their bodies. And they went every one straight forward, whither the Spirit was to go. They went, and they turned not when they went. As for the likeness of the living creatures, their appearance was like burning coals of fire, and like the appearance of lamps, and went up and down among the living creatures, and the fire was bright, and out of the fire went forth lightning. And the living creatures ran and returned as the appearance of a flash of lightning. Now as I beheld the living creatures, behold, one wheel upon the earth by the living creatures, with his 4 faces. The appearance of the wheels and their work was like unto the color of a beryl, like Beryl, so. And they 4 had one likeness, and their appearance and their work was it as were a wheel in the middle of a wheel. So, interesting. When they went upon their 4 sides, and they turned not when they went. As for their rings, they were so high that they were dreadful, and their rings were full of eyes round about them 4. And when the living creatures went, the wheels went by them. And when the living creatures were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up. Whithersoever the Spirit was to go, they went. Thither was their spirit to go, and the wheels were lifted up over against them. For the spirit of the living creature was in the wheels. When those went, these went. And when those stood, those stood. And when those were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up over against them. For the spirit of the living creature was in the wheels. And the likeness of the firmament upon the heads of the living creature was as the color of the terrible crystal, stretched forth over their heads. And under the firmament were their wings straight, the one toward the other. Every one had 2, which covered on this side, and every one had 2, which covered on that side, and their bodies. And when they went, I heard the noise of their wings, like the noise of great waters, as the voice of the Almighty, the voice of speech, as the noise of a host. When they stood, they let down their wings. And there was a voice from the firmament that was over their heads when they stood, and had let them down their wings. Yeah, and so it's really, really crazy. I feel like just talking about that, like talk about having a really like psychedelic trip.
Yeah.
And that's like, Old Testament stuff. So they probably sure had something, like, some dust or something that they inhaled but I don't know. Sometimes it's kind of hard to believe such angels like that, like the whole like wheels in the sky and things like that kind of exist. But yeah. So now I got my cat. Here we go. So now that we've got those 12 archangels kind of covered, and the description of what an angel, I guess, presumably looked like, we're actually going to go briefly into the hierarchy of heaven. So there are 3 different tiers of the hierarchy, and each group of angels are called a choir. So the first set of 3 are seraphims, cherubims, and thrones. The second set are dominions, virtues, and powers, and the third set are principalities, archangels, and just regular angels. And those are considered guardian angels. So, so as for the first set of choirs, the mission and the first and highest hierarchy of angels, the seraphim, cherubim, and the thrones, is to contemplate the infinite goodness of God and the proper goal of all things. The seraphim communicate the love of God. The cherubim communicates the truth of God, and the thrones communicate the purpose of all things to the next hierarchy of angels. So this first set of choirs is said to be the closest to God, not just physically, but mentally as well. The angels closest to God are the seraphim. Their name means the burning ones, or the angels of fire, because God is consuming fire of love. The seraphim are set on fire by the love of God, which they communicate to the others. There's a chapter and verse in Isaiah that describes the seraphim here. I saw the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. Above him stood the seraphim. Each had 6 wings. With 2 he covered his face, and with 2 he covered his feet, and with 2 he flew. And one called to another and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. Lastly, the cherubims are the ones with the most knowledge and wisdom. It is guessed by some that actually Lucifer was a cherubim because of all the knowledge that he had. And with an excess of knowledge, it could have led some sort of pride, with all that knowledge and whatnot. And so he thought he was pretty much like better than everybody else with how much he knew. The second set of choirs are the dominions, virtues, and powers. And they have a mission to pretty much govern the material world, control the elements, the seasons, the stars, even the sun and moon, in short, all aspects of nature. And it might seem a little odd for some to think that angels kind of govern the world and control the seasons and whatnot. But, others believe it wholly that it is so. And I respect that, so. And pretty much their whole thing is the more God gets his creatures involved in his divine actions, the more his creatures are made holy, and the more God is given glory. Whenever free creatures use their freedom to cooperate with God in the fulfillment of his divine plan, it is both pleasing to God and a grace for the creature. And finally, we get to the third set of choirs, the principalities, archangels, and guardian angels. I'll just call them guardian angels. In general, this set of choirs pretty much have this threefold mission that involves humanity. First is to defend us as people against Satan and his demonic forces. Second, to help us know the will of God through divine messages. And third is to pretty much simply heal us through physical or emotional trials. Through the use of strong leadership of archangels and guardian angels, we as humans are helped divinely with each step of the way. The principalities, as the spiritual generals, have the greatest authority of this lower hierarchy in carrying out God's plan during spiritual warfares for souls that take place each and every day of our lives on earth. So, since we've, obviously covered possessions and exorcisms, calling out to angels, and obviously invoking demons, however, which way, what do you guys think about this hierarchy of angels? Do they help us in defending our battles against demons? Are they here for, our protection, even in our darkest days? And, some of us, obviously, darkest days means an exorcism, which is why there's been plenty that have been noted and written about. So, fighting against evil means to get as much help as possible. And if these angels are all here for our protection, all the more better. So, yeah. And that's kind of what I have for the demons, the angels. Whoa. Because the next episode's about demons. Yeah, that's what I got about either the archangels and the hierarchy of heaven, basically. And it's interesting to go through the list. And I mean, like, even if you personally don't believe it, I feel like it's nice to know, like, what if, what if they are, what if they exist, things like that. Plenty of people believe in angels, plenty of people don't. It's really up to you guys. Yeah. But going through all the list of, like, all the archangels, you can pinpoint specific things in somebody's life or in your own life of, conflicts or good things in life, they pretty much cover everything. And the whole thing with archangels being here to protect us and to guide us toward the light is really nice. It's comforting. So, do you have any thoughts about the archangels or the hierarchy?
Well, my family, they're Catholic, as you know.
Yeah.
They've always believed in. We've always, more than anything, always prayed to Saint Michael, and as we believe, he's always heard us and always listened and always helped us out.
Yeah.
Throughout one of the tough years that we've had, and yeah, and as well as Saint Gabriel. He's one that my mom loves. My mom loves him.
Behind Michael, I really like Gabriel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're the main two that we prayed to growing up in our church, and just, So I truly believe in them, and I truly believe that they're out there, and they listen to us.
Yeah. Kind of like what I said, too, is like, you can reach out to them for specific aspects in life, and it doesn't matter who it is. There will be something there, for each archangel. So. Yeah. But, yeah, it is nice to know. And like what I said earlier is, like, my favorite is Saint Michael.
Yeah.
Is because he defends us in battle. He defends us, in our dark days, in our good days and in our bad days. It doesn't always have to be bad days. It can just be every other day of, there are demonic forces out there. Personally, I think so. They're unseen, but they're all up here, so that's the tricky thing about humanity is realizing that there are demonic forces, but they're also in our heads. But at the same time, obviously, angels.
Yeah.
Call it to angels, probably get some help. So, I think that is everything for this episode. Thank you guys once again for this huge, I guess, burst of support. It was really, really cool to see so many of you guys. Like this is only like what, the 5th episode, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. So it's still a very new show, but I feel like a lot of you guys kind of really enjoy the vibes of what it's all about. And really, that's the whole thing of, like, I just sitting down, talking about stuff that I enjoy, but, like, researching things. This is what I, saw in my research. This is what I'm giving you guys, kind of giving a simplified version of what's out there, or, well, what could be out there, But that's the whole thing with the paranormal stuff. Yeah. Is it out there? Is it not? I don't know. So it's up to you guys to decide. So so I think with all that kind of out of the way and being said, just be sure to stay spooky as always, and I'll see you guys in another episode. Bye.